concrete. But they estimate they've swung it between 10 and 15 times into the asphalt. He took it home, straightened it. You don't want to know how they straighten swords, because if it's your sword, it makes you go, I don't want to look! Because you think they have this amazing machine, and the last time he had to straighten one of our blades, he went out on my deck, took the handle off, wrapped a towel around the blade, put it between the floorboards on the deck, and started bending it. I'm like, no! But he straightened the blade, touched up the edge, and we cut with it. You couldn't tell it had been abused. And it was 1050. So if you got a knife out of 1060, you probably got a decent. Questions? They don't have to be about swords. Ask me about NCIS or something.
Who's your favorite?
Oh, Gibbs. NCIS matches our family dynamic because I joke and I'm outgoing and I talk non-stop on stage. When I teach at my school, I'm teaching classes and I'm funny and I'm cute, and if I tell you something once, you better get it. If I have to say it again, I'm wasting all of our time. And so the whole Gibbs slap and the look, I've really worked on the look. And my son, who's 20 and thinks he's cute, is Denozo. And lucky for us, he screws up about as often as Tony does, so it works. The problem is everybody in my family and everybody in my school is vying for the position of Abby. Everybody wants to be Abby.
I like Ziva.
That's because she kills people, dear.
Tony. I put Tony.
And
I like Abby.
I'm okay with you and the whole Ziva thing, except she really doesn't look like an Israeli Mossad officer, does she? 5'9" blonde. But that's okay, because when we do stage shows, she doesn't look much like a 5'1" Japanese man either. She's got shape. And the hair is a little different.
You mentioned regretting seeing violence.
What? Yeah! When we're done looking at the really pretty swords. What? If you're into swords, everybody I know who likes swords grew up playing Dungeons and Dragons, and whether you'll admit it or not, watch The Highlander. I own the VHS copies of the first 3 movies. Love the first one, pretend the second one didn't exist, and the third one was basically the first one over again, but with a hotter chick. So I like that one. I mean, yes. Do I do anything with broadswords? Yes. I actually teach 16th century samurai martial arts for a living, sword combat and empty hand, but because we do a lot of Renaissance festivals, we do a lot of European stuff as well. So yes, I own 2 of them. And well, 3 if you count the great sword, which is really a hand-and-a-half sword. It's known as a bastard sword, but I always flinch when I say that. It makes me uncomfortable.
It's the name of the weapon. Yeah, it's a little harder to see the temporal lines from the grain structure, but it's still there.
Okay, can I have this back for just a moment? Cool. All right. I get nervous when it's out of my hands for too long. You have sweaty hands. The leather's good.
Depending on how you eat it.
So you throttled it? Why couldn't I have given you my daughter when she was younger? Did I say that out loud? That's your daughter too, isn't it? Do you have a boy as well? Really?
I stopped while I was ahead.
I have a boy and a girl, and to paraphrase Bill Cosby, the reason why I have 2 is because I don't want 3. I love my kids, and Dad's perspective is different than Mom's. But as infants, girls are easier. They're cleaner, they toilet train faster, they pay attention in elementary school more than boys do. High school is kind of impossible for both. But afterwards, boys are easier. Do you know why? Because the difference between boys and girls, and this is teaching martial arts full-time for a living, if I look at my son and say, hey, sit down, knock that off, he will, because he knows there's a physical threat there, and I can make him sit down. And guys will respect that. They may not like it, But, you know, we're doing kickboxing, we're sparring at the dojo, and I got two guys wailing on each other. If I step in, they will stop because I can knock them both down. Do you know what the girls won't do? Stop. Or back down, or admit they're wrong, ever. And it doesn't matter if they're going to die or not, because the point is they don't want to back down. And that's what my daughter did when she turned 16 and got a boyfriend. She went from being daddy's girl to being her own boss. And I kind of wanted that to happen. I just wanted her to have learned more lessons and made the right decisions when she did that. So I teach sword combat. And the joke's always, we also perform circumcision. The downside is her boyfriend's a student at my school, and he's more afraid of her than he is me. Because I'm all talk and all I can do is kill him. She can make his life miserable for the rest of his life. Oh, wait, I don't think they're quite ready for marriage. Back to the swords. One more thing for you. When you look at the blade and you're done looking at it going, ooh, it's pretty, what else do I need to know? If you're gonna buy a sword and use it, any sword you have has to have a full tang. What that means is the steel continues down into the handle, different than a lot of European swords that had a shorter, that were designed to be used one-handed. Japanese sword, two hands when you swing, and your hands are separated by 2 or 3 fingers width, so you can swing fast, hard, and stop, and change direction. That means the steel has to go all the way down into where your bottom hand is. If you buy a sword that's only a half tang, if it cuts off right here underneath the handle, that's where the blade breaks when you hit something hard with it. Okay? The best, and I know this is just my opinion, okay? Not fact. The best company for making reproduction swords is Chen Forge out of China. They sell in this country under CAS Iberia. When they first started making Japanese swords about 15 years ago, they only had half tangs. And in LA, when they first started using the swords, 3 of them broke during public cutting demonstrations, and the handle snapped right here. They got that fixed. Then they just had, the handles were too small for the blades, but nowadays they make a really good basic cutting sword. But you have to have a full tang. If you want to buy a sword from a dealer and they say it's a usable sword for hard practice and for cutting, if they will not take the handle off for you, don't buy it. Okay, you've seen the commercials for the car companies where they want the Carfax. Okay, this is akin to wanting to buy a car that the dealer won't let you test drive. Here, buy this car, it's awesome, it's battle ready. No, I won't open the hood and let you look at the engine. Why do you ask? Okay, you're not going to buy a car from somebody like that. Don't buy a sword to use if they won't let you take the handle off and see if it's full tang. And that kago, for anybody who cares about Japanese terms. More questions, observations, thoughts about NCIS? No, they left already. We're good with that. Where do you practice? Where do I practice? Anywhere I can. We've had the police called on us for doing sword in the backyard. I'm not joking about that. We're actually from Iowa City, Iowa. Unfortunately, that means we are 505 miles from this hotel, and it's a bit of a commute if you want to take classes. I would be willing to have you as a student, but you got to come to me. We do seminar. Actually, we have a basic sword class here tomorrow. Look, it's your only job.
What job on this ship?
He has his schedule. Go read it for him. He's a guy.
11:30.
Yay! Who said that? You're my favorite. Well, no, that's not true.
No, I'm your favorite. Not Bubbles. Remember me?
11:30 to 12:30 in here.
11:30 tomorrow. In here, we will have a basic
That's where we
sword
arm
class.
you with sticks and let
Where-
you hit each other.
Yeah.
Sticks. Sticks. And before you go, yeah, just sticks, please remember, Miyamoto Musashi fought several of his duels with Boken wooden swords and still killed his opponents. Just takes a little bit more enthusiasm. Pardon?
And a much better idea of where to hit.
Well, that's what I'm here for. And the reason why we don't do free sparring stuff in our sword style, and as much as I'm a fan of kendo and like doing the boffer weapons and stuff, we do that in kids class all the time. It's like the reward for the kids for being serious for 45 minutes. They get 10 minutes of bopper time, and when my adults think they're too cool, I make the adults come on the floor and fight with them and let the kids mop the floor with them. As much as I'm a fan of that stuff, you have to keep in mind, sword combat is different than sword sport, because sport is aimed at specific target areas that are heavily reinforced, so you live through it, hence sport. And if you're actually trying to use a sword to kill someone, you're not aiming for the safe areas, you're aiming for the other areas that I don't want to talk about, because the girls seem to think that somehow this area is the prime area for all sharp objects. Oh yeah, the femoral artery runs right, yeah. Well, we'll be on stage here at 9 o'clock doing sword combat and test cutting. If you guys like looking at the 700-year-old sword, at 9 o'clock we'll be on main stage here doing a samurai show. We'll be doing sword fighting. I'm gonna let my wife beat me up. No, that's not right. Yes. I'm going to put my wife in her place, and at the end of the show, if I'm still alive, I will be performing Tommy Shigiri, which is Japanese test cutting, with that 700-year-old sword. And this is the important part. The audience gets to participate in the last part of our show. We're going to sacrifice a virgin. Look, it's Friday at an anime con. It's possible. By Sunday, I don't think we could pull it off.
Hey, you want to come
I made that joke last year.
Yes.
On Sunday. And some poor guy in the back said, all right, we're going to sacrifice a virgin. If we can find one. Some 16-year-old boy raised his hand and goes, and I'm like, look, congratulations, that's nothing to be ashamed of, but I'm not sure it should be publicized either. I said, all right, fine, come on up here. No, because he looked so sad. So I made him sit in a corner, and at the end of the show, we had all these girls get up and they were coming, and it was my son and I doing the show. So we got done, we stand here with our swords because we just did cutting, and all these girls came running up and were like, yeah, they're here for us. And all the girls went right past us and over to where that kid was sitting. And he was mobbed by girls, and we're standing there going, what? And when they finally left, that guy came running over, and I'm like, oh God, he's gonna chew me out for making fun of him. The guy gave me a hug. I mean, not the bro hug thing. It was like, whoa! And he goes, I love you. I got 8 phone numbers from girls. And I'm like, that's so weird. It was funny.
That's why guys.
Is he here this year? No, and neither are any of those girls. They stayed home this weekend. That seems wrong. But we will be cutting with the sword. We'll be doing nasty, violent combat on stage with weapons a little bit nicer than, well,
They will be nicer.
So just remember, if you buy a decoration,
Don't leave it outside.
put it on your wall. Don't start hacking into things with a really cheap blade that just kind of does this kind of stuff. Because sometimes you do get what you pay for, right? If you're talking about swords, that 1060 knife you're talking about, do you have any idea what 1060 bar stock costs?
That's kind of gap you made in his guesses.
It is about $50 a pound, and when you buy an 8-foot bar of it, it's really expensive. And if somebody's trying to sell you a real sword, combat ready, guaranteed to take off the heads of otaku everywhere. Did I get that right? Otaku is the anime word for. I didn't know that, and I thought somebody was trying to talk me into a panel that I was scared of. I know a lot about combat and swords, very little about anime. And our first anime thing that had an 18 and up panel, I had no idea why. You need an 18 and up panel for a cartoon thing. So we're walking past missed it. I should have known. I mean, the panel started like at midnight. And one of the other people who was